Hello and welcome to Odds on Champions League Match Day 3 Part 2. So games on Wednesday, we have another video. For games on Tuesday, Tom, Rennie, Ronan, Murphy with me to analyze every game. Actually, we have Wednesday 22nd of October, we have Juventus, we have Liverpool, we have Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. So a lot of great games, a lot of great teams. So comment the video with us. Tell me your tips. Of course, as always, I just ask you for your like, your subscription, perhaps, to our channel. We are going to have a lot of videos this week. So now let's go on with the show. Two early kickoffs, as always. First stop north of Spain, Bilbao, Athletic Qarabag, surprising leaders, Qarabag, of this league in the Champions League, together with other 5 teams. But 2 games, 2 wins for Qarabag against Benfica and Copenhagen, and Athletic still winless, still actually without a point in this Champions League. They suffered the loss of Nico Williams for a big part of September, and now they are recovering little by little in La Liga. And in their counts, Tom, if they want to qualify for the playoffs in this Champions League, they must win this game.
Yeah, we're getting to that bit of the new format of the Champions League where first round doesn't matter so much, second round doesn't matter so much. But if you've done really badly in those first 2 rounds, suddenly game 3 matters a lot. And so it's a huge, huge game, this, for Athletic Club. And I don't know if I've been surprised by how sort of average or poor they've been at the start of the season. Maybe we're comparing it too much to the qualities of last season. You mentioned the Williams injury, which is significant. But just watching you at the moment, it does sort of feel like something is missing. And obviously, it's evident the players that are missing, but also whether it's belief, whether it's hangover from last season, whether it was a lack of investment in other key areas, because, of course, they can't make significant investment in all the areas they would like for reasons of being Athletic Club. So I do think it's really interesting when they go into a game like this, the position they find themselves in. And because Qarabag have been good, this video is actually maybe do some work on Qarabag, which I wasn't expecting to do, frankly, in the Champions League this year. But they have been very, very good. They play a very solid 4-2-3-1. They have a striker that can lead the line and run in behind. They have wingers that could cross the ball. There is a lot of solidity in a classic Moyesian 4-2-3-1, which they've delivered very well so far. Plus, I think it's 8 unbeaten all competitions, maybe 8 wins in a row, certainly 5 wins in a row in all competitions. Really very impressive. So I'm conflicted because obviously, as someone who bets on the Champions League, I would never put money on Qarabag to win. However, the form suggests they should win, and 10.5 is kind of crazy considering the run they've been on. So look, first things first, if you feel like a crazy punt on this Champions League round, I might bang a fiver on that just because of the form they've been in. They've beaten Copenhagen already. I know they play in a substandard league, but Athletic Club are somewhat difficult to assess. However, I do still think Athletic Club get victory here. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be nervy. It's the kind of game where if you haven't won at home and you haven't won consistently all season, which is the Athletic Club story, I do think first goal, hold on for dear life. Something kind of akin to the Mallorca game a couple of weeks ago where it was 2-1. It was edgy. It was nervy. There were mistakes. I can see it being quite similar to that. So look for Bilbao to win maybe by exactly 1 goal. For me, I'd say Athletic Club win under 2.5 goals at 3.75. You also double your money on a 1-0, 2-1 victory if you go for the exactly line, which I always like when teams are struggling.
Well, the under looks very tempting, Ronan, because Athletic is a team that struggles a lot to score, especially with Nico or injured or out of form.
Yeah, it does. If you look back at their form this season, obviously they've gone 2 games unbeaten, which is, like you said, the turnaround they were hoping for, but they hadn't won in 6 before that. And when you look at the matches they've won this season, they haven't won them kind of convincingly. They've all been those kind of close games, like Tom has mentioned. This is not a team that really has put anybody to the sword, and Qarabag have been performing above all expectations so far in the Champions League, and I hope Tom enjoyed his deep dive. I hope he got lots of lots of Kazakh highlights coming to his YouTube. His algorithm is probably totally different now, and he'll get some bizarre videos now for the next few weeks. But maybe that's what he needs in his life. Maybe it's better than having to suffer through watching this West Ham United team week in, week out in the Premier League. So hopefully Qarabag can bring some light to Tom, and hopefully they can bring some money to some of our viewers, because I kind of agree that I think it's going to be a close game. And if you look at how Qarabag have performed so far in Champions League, they are one of the teams with 2 wins so far. They are perfect in Champions League this season. Bilbao, on the other hand, nothing in the Champions League this season. So I think it could be another close game here. And like I said, Atletico haven't won any match by more than 1 goal this season. So I'm going to tie that into my bet and going for Qarabag Asian handicap plus 1.5, which is 193.
I love these odds, actually. I was just checking them. I guess when you are drawing away against Elche, it's not the turnaround of the season that you are expecting. So it's a little bit disappointing this season for Athletic so far. First half draw could be another option. Okakbar is telling us Qarabag win or draw, the double chance. The odds are even higher, so not a lot of expectations with Athletic. Also early kickoff in Istanbul, Galatasaray. Bodo Glimt, really low odds for Galatasaray, not even 1.6 after beating Liverpool at home in their last home game in the Champions League. They are topping comfortably the Turkish league with 5 points difference. And Bodo Glimt is a funny team to watch in this Champions League because they deserve to win at home against Tottenham. We know how dangerous they are in their artificial grass, but they drew, and they deserve to lose against Slavia Prague, but they lost. Overall, again, a funny team to watch, Ronan, because they concede a lot and they create also quite a lot.
Yeah, they're giving us plenty of entertainment, and they're giving us plenty of 2-all draws so far in the Champions League, and long may that continue. Hopefully we can have another 2-all draw here, maybe perhaps. Plenty entertaining, but it'd be interesting to see who deserved to win and who deserved to lose after that 2-all draw, perhaps, because Galatasaray, their form also has been kind of wildly inconsistent. They followed up a 5-1 defeat with a 1-0 win over Liverpool. So it's kind of, these are 2 very difficult teams to predict so far in the Champions League. So we just have to kind of play this one out. So I'm not going to say definitively that this is going to be a draw or kind of go for a 1 or a 2, but both teams to score yes is only 153 here. So it's not really jumping out at me, but Gala, they have been a bit more defensive since that defeat to Frankfurt, but before then they scored 3 goals in 4 of their 5 games before that. So I like the look of total goals over 3.25, which would tie into the fact that there has been 4 goals in both Bodo matches so far. That's 183. But looking at their foreman in the Champions League, they both goals against Spurs, Jens Peter Hegg, who used to play for Eintracht Frankfurt, so I know him well from his time in the Bundesliga. He's got 10 goals in 33 games for Bodo this season. They have obviously the summer season, but in his last 6 games, he's got 5 goals. So I really like the look of him as an anytime goal scorer at 375 in this one. It's quite high for their on-form player.
Okay, well, both teams to score over 2.5 goals, over 3.5 goals. Tom, also you expect goals in this one?
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think Ronan's analysis there on goals at both ends is right. I think you've got 2 teams who can score goals. You've got 2 teams full of goal scorers in terms of Gala. Like, I've really enjoyed the times I've been able to watch them this season. I don't know if 𝘀𝗻𝗻's going to start. There's some conjecture as to whether he's the starting forward or whether it's Icardi or what the lineup is or whether he's happy. He's never happy. But, like, if you can put together a group of Zane, Yilmaz, Icardi, 𝘀𝗻𝗻, that's a really good lineup of attacking players. I think look defensively solid. 𝘀𝗵𝗄 and Torreira central midfield probably is very solid. They can control a game. And look, I think we do this all the time with Bodo Glimt, right? If we are playing this game in Norway, and at the moment it's like 0 degrees Celsius, if we put this game in 3 months' time and it's in Norway, I think, yeah, absolutely, great chance. The fact we're not makes me think this Gala team have goals in them. It's a real jump up from Norway to Turkey, as it would be Turkey to England, say. I think it's a huge jump up in quality. It's a huge test. And for me, I think that the Gala will be able to win this game. So I would take them to win. I would take both teams to score. I would certainly be looking at over 2.5 goals in this match, maybe more than that. And maybe I'm just invested in him because I like him so much. But if he plays, 𝘀𝗻𝗻 scores anytime and Gala win. It's not quite double your money, but you throw that in with a lot of goals as well. You might need to be creative with this one and pick 3 strands and bring them together in some sort of creative treble. But if you do that, Gala win over 2.5 and 𝘀𝗻𝗻 on the score sheet anytime. I think there's money to be made there. I would never back Bodo Glimt away from home.
𝘀𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗏, if 𝘀𝗻𝗻 is playing, is always good to back him. Indeed, following also your thoughts. Tom, let's go to Monaco. So prepare the wallet, guys. Monaco, Tottenham. Monaco changed the manager, but the things are not clicking, even with Sebastian Pocognoli on the bench. Drew with Angers at the weekend, also with Nice before the international break. The last good result was a draw in the Champions League at home against Man City, but remember that they also lost to Bruges 4-1 in an ugly way. So the bad run or the bad result that Monaco got at the weekend was the same for Spurs on Sunday. Defeat at home against Aston Villa. And 4 points in the Champions League, Tom, perhaps they have more points than what they deserve, actually, in this Champions League, because both games against Villarreal and Bodo weren't great.
Yeah, I'm a bit baffled by Spurs at the moment, if I'm honest. I feel like I made the mistake of thinking they were good, and I blame myself for that because they always let me down. But I still think all the fundamentals there for Spurs are really good. And I think the coach is really smart, and I think I expect them to, like the Villa game at the weekend, I expect them under Thomas Frank to win games like that because the back line makes sense to me. The fullbacks make sense to me. Defensively in midfield, if you've got Palhinha and another, probably Bentancur, maybe Sarr, that makes sense to me. The only thing lacking is creativity. There's no one playing through balls in this team, and probably the central striker because Tell is not a number 9 despite that great goal he scored at Leeds a couple of weeks ago. Richarlison, I think he's desperate to take that stroll down washout lane to Turkey or to America in the next kind of 12 months or so. He's clearly had some sort of issue where he's not a Premier League player anymore, Solanke being injured. So there's a couple of players missing for Tottenham, but there's something more than that missing. And I'm just struggling to put my finger on it at the moment. And maybe it's because without Maddison, there is no creativity. Maybe it is because they needed more than just to rely on Maddison across the season. That maybe explains the Eza link. So I do think there are issues there, but I think away from home in a game like this, I think it's well set up for Tottenham Hotspur to win in a really ugly counter-attacking sort of way. And again, I go back to the Leeds game a couple of weeks ago. Mohamed Kudus is such a weird player in that I think he's the best player at defending the ball I've seen for a long, long time. But his decision-making is just woeful. His crossing, despite his assist stats, aren't particularly good. And you throw in Xavi Simons and the aforementioned Tell and 1 or 2 others in this group, Brennan Johnson, 𝘀𝗻𝗿𝗀. They're all just potential. And one of them maybe needs to step up into that void where Solanke is missing and Maddison's missing. And currently, I'm not sure it's there. So if they win this, which I think they will, it'll be quite ugly. And in terms of Monaco, I think it's harsh to ask Pocognoli to have done anything in his time in charge thus far. Plus, I always think, I've not been to Monaco, but I always think watching it on TV, it looks like the worst place in the world to play. Like just a huge, horrible athletic stadium with about 15 supporters in. Half the ground is boarded up. Like, it's astonishing to me they make the Champions League. Of course, it's the money, right? I get that. But, like, it's amazing that anyone is able to put a team together there. Plus, they're continually selling their best players, which, again, they've done last summer as well. There is goals in this team. I hope that 𝘀𝗻𝗄 Fati gets back to the player that we once knew. I hope so. I've not seen much evidence of that so far. But for me, I think this will be a fairly horrible, tight game. Screams draw. Absolutely screams it with 2 teams with clear deficiencies. Draw on its own is 3.75. Double up a couple of groups, 0-0 or 1-1. It's a really generous 5. If you do take Tottenham, make it ugly. Make it by 1 goal and go under 2.5. An ugly Spurs win or a 0-0 draw.
Well, the summer transfers were odd by Monaco, but 𝘀𝗻𝗄 Fati is paying off so far. 𝘀𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗏 draw is also possible. 0-0, 1-1. Ronan?
Yeah, you didn't mention the biggest summer transfer at all, Eric Dyer, who scored that big goal against against Man City in the 2-2. So yeah, this is a very kind of unusual team. But I suppose if when you're Monaco, I suppose if you were to live in Monaco, you spend money on old trinkets in Monaco. So maybe that's what Eric Dyer is for them, and maybe Ansu Fati is the shiny new toy that they can fix for themselves. But yeah, they have had 3 draws in a row, so they have, I don't know, turned it around a small bit since changing coaches. They've had 2-2-alls and another 1-1 then. Like you said, they're undefeated in all 5 home games this season. And if you look at Spurs, their form, they're undefeated in all their away games this season. So, like Tom says, a draw looks pretty good here for 375. But I had a look at these teams, and they like kind of scoring late in matches, and they like scoring second half goals. Monaco have scored 2 second half goals, or in their matches there have been 2 second half goals in the first match and 1 in the second match. And Spurs, all 4 goals in their last game in the Champions League came in the second half of their match. So I think if there is to be goals in this one, these are 2 teams that kind of wait a while before they wake up, and maybe that's the case in that stadium that they're going to be playing in on Wednesday evening. It'll take a while for anything to get going. So I like the look of over 1.5 second half goals at 187 in this match.
I see 1x and both teams to score for 𝘀𝗵cie, and it looks a bit as an Europa League video, this one, because next one is Atalanta Slavia Prague, with Atalanta drawing a lot of games against Lazio. The last one, and in the Champions League, is 3 points. They lost to PSG as expected, but they beat Bruges, and we didn't expect that actually. But now they are favorites. They should beat Slavia Prague with only 1 point. Slavia already visited Italy and lost 3-0 to Inter. Even in the Czech league, they are not in great form, Ronan.
Yeah, no, they've had back-to-back draws. Obviously, one of those was their local derby against Sparta Prague, but they then drew nil all this most recent weekend, and in a match that they probably were expected to win. So they are a team that aren't in great form at the moment. Atalanta are unbeaten in 5 themselves, but they've had 3 draws in a row in their own domestic league as well. A couple of 1-1s. One of them was with Juventus, obviously, so that's not too bad. And then 0-0 there against Lazio. So they're kind of respectable results, but they're still not winning matches. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be a draw in this one, because I would fancy Atalanta a bit too much in this. But I think that these are teams that aren't really playing attractive, entertaining, exciting, attacking football at the moment. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in this one. Atalanta have had over 3 goals, or scored over 3 goals in none of their last 5 games, and Slavia have had over 3 goals in none of their last 6 games. So neither team, even when they're winning, they don't play out entertaining matches. So under 3 goals at 2.01 is the best I can see for this match, because it really has the look of a Europa League match, like you said.
Yeah, well, the rule of thumb is never trust too much a team trained by 𝘀𝗵cie, Tom.
Yes, I mean, that is a rule of thumb whenever I've seen a 𝘀𝗵cie team, but I'm led to believe he has been good during his career. So maybe I'm just biased because of what I saw with Southampton previously. And look, what a horrible job to go into in lots of ways, right? After the success of Gasperini, the years of Gasperini, to come in here and have to be the first man in afterwards. It's sort of a horrible job. So I actually have a lot of time for what he's been able to do in these opening few months. Firstly, not getting fired, which I thought he would. So well done there. But also, they're solid. They're very, very solid. And I think the draws that the Ronan talked about in the league, it's Juventus and 𝘀𝗵cie, very good team, as we saw again this weekend. I've not had a chance to catch up with the Lazio game for Atalanta as we record this. But in those games, they were very solid. They were very hard to break down. And if you look at the Club Brugge Champions League win, they can score goals as well. I think Ademola Lookman is... he's been there too long and seems unhappy, but in that front line with him and Sulejmana, who's also very quick. And I don't know if there was crossover with 𝘀𝗵cie at Southampton with Sulejmana, but either way, he's got a good pace in behind. And if you try and press high on Atalanta, you can get in behind. If you don't, it can be quite an ugly game. I haven't seen Slavia since the last Champions League game, but it was evident against Inter. They were nowhere near ready to be in this competition. They've lost some significant players in the summer. that all being said, it absolutely screams Atalanta victory here. I think Ronan's point is right. There's not going to be too many goals in it. But I would suggest that Atalanta will get 1, maybe 2, shut up shop. Go for Atalanta win without conceding. As I mentioned, I think they do look defensively pretty solid this time around. I think 1-0 or 2-0 is very likely. So Atalanta and under 2.5 goals, a really generous 4.5. If you're picking out players, I like 𝘀𝗵𝗀. I've always liked Lookman. If they're fit, one of those two guys will do the damage.
Atalanta and over 1.5 goals, 𝘀𝗵𝗀𝘀 under 2.5 goals, and the Oddspedia AI. Let's see what they think about this Atalanta Slavia Prague double chance. X2 for Slavia 2.78, and also total goals under 3.5 goals. So also the AI doesn't trust 𝘀𝗵𝗀𝘀. There you go. Next one. This one we don't need the AI. Bayern Munich, Club Brugge, because Bayern Munich are thrashing every single team except Dortmund, but still they won. They have won every single game this season. Harry Kane is scoring goals for fun, as he always does. It's a good competition this season between Haaland, Kane, and Mbappe. All three are scoring goals in every single game. Bruges could be a good team in this Champions League, and perhaps they make it towards the playoffs. But Tom, I guess Bayern Munich to win, to score 3 goals or more, Harry Kane to score, the usual suspects.
Did you read my email before the show? Is that what happened?
No,
I didn't know you read my emails.
I always try not to read them because then I'm biased.
Well, maybe it's just so obvious then, because of course we're going to do that, because Harry Kane, like obviously Ronan will speak better than this on this than I will, but I'll just say I've watched a few Bayern games this season, and I've watched the extended Classica highlights. I haven't watched the whole game as yet, but everything is about just how good Harry Kane is, and we've all been saying this for a long time. We all know Harry Kane's a good player, right? No one was saying Harry Kane was a bad player during his time at Tottenham, and we all had some fun with the fact he couldn't win a trophy and all that sort of stuff. And then he leaves and Tottenham win the Europa League, which is great fun. But he's just such a complete player. I think the Nicholas Jackson element of him also being at Bayern is really interesting too, because it's a bit like I was doing something on Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, and it's sort of what Maresca wants ďeľap and Pedro to do if ďeľap was fit. In that you think you've got 2 strikers, but no, you've got a striker and you've got this all-round offensive powerhouse. For Chelsea, they see that as João Pedro. For Bayern, it's Harry Kane. Like, he drops deep, he spreads the play, he's able to create great relationships with other players, he's happy to assist when necessary. He'll take the corners if you have to. He's back defending in his box in the last minute. Plus, he's scoring goal after goal after goal. And what sorts of goals? Well, they're tap-ins, they're long ranges, they're penalties. He wins the penalty, like all of it. Like, I don't think there's a better player right now, certainly in Germany, certainly in European football, that I've seen than Harry Kane. I think he's absolutely astonishing right now. And I think that putting that front group together, combos of Luis Diaz and Jackson and Olise and 𝘀𝗵𝗄𝘀 behind, and all of it, it's perfectly built around Europe's best player, and long may it continue. And I think despite the fact that Club Brugge remain a very good team, they remain a very good team in Belgium. They've won their last couple of games. Every game they are in is in the balance. Every game in the moment, but the Classica that Bayern are in is a blowout. And so I would follow that form. Kane is a stats padder. He will play against Latvia. He will play against Lithuania. He will play against Heidenheim. He wants those sweet, sweet goals, so he doesn't get dropped. Bayern win. First decent handicap is minus 2.5. I think if you're betting on this game, you've got to look handicap market. And you obviously go Kane. Quite surprised that to score 2+ was double your money. 3.25 for a Kane double? Yeah, I'll take that. Bayern and Kane every week.
Yeah, he scores goals from every color, even from a corner kick this weekend. But it's not also only the goals, as Tom was saying, Ronan. I watched also the highlights. There was one time that he started the attack in the midfield just with a switch of foot that is just superb. It's so elegant also the way he plays football.
Yeah, if you just looked at his raw stats, you'd think, yeah, this guy is the best striker in the world. But then you actually watch him play and you think, this guy is the best footballer in the world, maybe too. Just like Tom said, he's kind of everywhere. He drops back, he defends well, he links up well with his teammates, he provides clinical passes, he wins the penalties that he scores, like Tom said. Yeah, it's not just he comes up and he just scores the penalties and does nothing else for the 90 minutes. He is everywhere. If you have a look at the heat map against Dortmund, I think looking at the heat map, he seems to be in his own half as much as he was in Dortmund's half when you look at it. So it was just another spectacular performance, and that's what we've come to expect from him this season, because he has 19 goals in 11 games, and he's also just continues to drive Bayern forward and drive them to wins, because like you said, Edu, they've won every single game this season. They've won all 11 matches in all competitions, and only in 2 of those games have they failed to score more than three or more goals. That was the very first game against the Super Cup, and then Dortmund this weekend. They were the only 2 matches they didn't score 3 goals in. So they are just a steamroller of a team. So they're going to do it again here. They'd be shocked if anything else happens. So Bayern goals themselves over 2.5 is 167. I like to look at that. I even like the look of more of that. Bayern over 3.5 goals is 2.7. I like that. Kane, like Tom said, anytime goal score 150. That's just printing money at this stage, I would imagine. And Kane to score 2 goals, I agree with Tom there. I'm going for that one too at 310. But I'm also going for Bayern to win by 2 goals or more. So Bayern -2, 1.94.
Indeed, the Bayern -1 that Yusuf is telling us is almost a safe bet. They almost always win at least by 2 goals margin, except this weekend and also against Augsburg, I believe. So Bayern to score 2-3-1. So 2-1, 3-1, or 4-1. 𝗀𝗵𝗿𝗀, hat-trick for Harry Kane, David, Bayern to win and over 2.5 goals. Well, all Bayern, all Harry Kane. Next one is Chelsea, Ajax. Also really low odds to back Chelsea. Here, not only because they are in decent form after beating Liverpool and Nottingham Forest at the weekend, but also because Ajax are really bad, and we saw them at the Velodrome. They were pitiful, especially in the first half, was already 4-0 down. Also, they lost to Inter. Also, they are not looking good in the Eredivisie. So not only because of Chelsea, which still, Ronan, we are a little bit unsure about their future, but no way we are backing Ajax anytime soon.
No, we're not. And when you mentioned before the Bayern Munich match, when you were giving the introduction about Haaland and Mbappe and Kane as the best strikers in the world, at the moment, you didn't say Troy Parrott in the list, who has 11 goals in 9 games, including winning the penalty and scoring the penalty in AZ's 2-0 win over Ajax at the weekend. So he was the star man against Ajax. So he is one to keep an eye on this season. Because he's back from injury. Make sure to mention him on every show, the Europa League show. We keep an eye on him in the Europa League show. But for now, it's the Champions League, and Chelsea are in the Champions League. Ajax do not look like a Champions League team this season. They are not playing very well. Chelsea had another comfortable win at the weekend, 3-0 over Forest. We know that Chelsea can be very inconsistent, but this is Chelsea and this is Ajax at the moment. So, amazingly, it's only the 3rd time in history that these 2 teams have played in Europe. Oh. Yeah, the last one was a 4-4 in Stamford Bridge in 2019-2020 in the Champions League. Before that, Chelsea won in Amsterdam 1-0. So 1-0 win for Chelsea there. I think it could be the same again here. Don't think it's going to be a hugely entertaining game, but I think Chelsea will win. I think Chelsea will keep a clean sheet. So Chelsea to win 0 is 230. But if you want to play it slightly safer, and just in case Chelsea themselves don't score, Chelsea clean sheet is 210.
Well, they did the job against Benfica. Was not flashy, was not brilliant, Tom, but they won. And still this Chelsea, I'm not fully convinced yet, but of course, for this game, I am.
Yeah, no, I think in the macro sense, it's a fair point on Chelsea, though I do think the win against Forest the weekend, I don't think we should sniff at that because of the Postecoglou nonsense that happened. Like, Forest played pretty well and probably should have won it. Chelsea had to be resilient and they had to take chances when they came and then had to see the game through. And they did all that really, really well. I mean, the deficiencies are clear in their best player, one of the best players in European football, 𝘀𝗵𝗄, is out. The team is built around him, so him not being there is a massive, massive loss. I think if you don't have Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in the team, the drop-off in quality from those two to the rest is quite significant, with all due respect to Romeo Lavia and Santos, and they play Gusto in midfield and Reece James and whomever else. Like, those two are, I wouldn't say world-class players. I like to keep that bar super, super high, but I think they're exceptional players and that they play really well together. They've been getting better and better and better as a pair and playing in different parts of the team. So to lose those three, certainly Enzo and 𝘀𝗵𝗻𝘀 not going to play here. That's really significant. I mentioned earlier in the recording that he wanted to do this 𝗀𝗏𝗀 pairing and he's been unable to do that. That's been a problem. And so there are injuries, which is weird to say with a squad of 7,000 players, plus defensively. Like 𝗀𝗏𝗀 is not a progressive passer of the ball, and I think that's frustrating for what Enzo Maresca wants to do, but he's a good defender. I think Josh Achimpong has done well, but I think if everyone's fit, he's probably the 5th or 6th choice centre-half. And Robert Sanchez remains, I think, pretty average goalkeeper. So, like, there are injuries and there are things to be fixed, and I think Enzo Maresca deserves incredible credit for finding solutions without spending a fortune on players in the last few weeks. The win over Forest, the win over Liverpool, really very impressive. So that's the only opening here for Ajax, is that there are a few problems that Chelsea are trying to solve. They probably could have done with a week off between fixtures here, which of course you don't get when you're in the Champions League. This is not your dad's Ajax. It's not your uncle's Ajax. It's a poor Ajax. They're defensively weak. They've sold a lot of players. They're still tossing it along to 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗀 in the year of our Lord, 2025. At very least, I can see them maybe nicking a goal from a corner, potentially, possibly. There's some decent height in the team. But beyond that, they're conceding lots of goals. They ain't scoring very many. And I don't think they're equipped to play in the Champions League right now. I think the Marseille game was 4. I think if 𝘀𝗵𝗻𝗀 was here, I'd probably say another 4. Without that, I think Chelsea win pretty comfortably. Win to 0 was 2.2. I can't see an Ajax goal beyond the kind of bundled corner, as I've mentioned. And there's a nice double money group bet of 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. That comes in at 3. It's going to be a comfortable Chelsea victory.
Chelsea to win the first half for Pathfinder. Chelsea to win and over 1.5 goals for Clement. And the first interesting game, I would say.
Half an hour in, these have all been very interesting. How dare you?
Sorry for waiting. It's Eintracht Frankfurt Liverpool. I'm looking forward to seeing this Liverpool again. Sorry for our viewer, Mom Spaghetti, Liverpool fan. But they are in deep crisis, and this is a tricky game against Frankfurt. A special game, of course, for 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗀. Nothing is working for Liverpool right now. Not the manager, not the signings, not the stars. After the defeat against Man United, and still the bookies have memory, and they place Liverpool as big favorite, only 1.6. To win in Frankfurt. It's true, Tom, that Frankfurt are not in good form also in the Bundesliga, and in the Champions League they look awful against Atlético de Madrid, but this Liverpool have major issues. We were not convinced after their start winning all the games in the last minute, but they've dropped dramatically in the last weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'd be quite confident here, I think it's quite a nice Champions League game for what they could have got, is that, as you mentioned, Eintracht Frankfurt concedes so many goals. Another 2 at the weekend against Freiburg, 3 against Bayern, 5 against Atleti, 4 against Qarabag. They scored 6 in that game. Like, it's a ludicrous amount of goals they've conceded. And look, Liverpool's problem, or one of the problems they've got, is they've got all these attacking players. And obviously no team can play this many attacking players. To have signed 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗀 to then sign Isak in the same window was dumb. Dumb thing to do. Shouldn't have done it. And they're still kind of building an attack around Mo Salah, whose form has fallen dramatically off a cliff. And you forget now that his numbers for the first 70% of last season were Messi at his peak level numbers. He was getting Liverpool over the line by sheer force of his performances. And that's sort of gone. So I think there's all sorts of balancing issues here in this Liverpool team that need to be fixed. The balance of fullbacks to centre-halves has not quite worked. He hasn't got his preferred central midfield together. Sometimes Gravenberch, sometimes McAllister. Szoboszlai keeps getting bombed out to right back for inexplicable reasons. It worked for a bit against Newcastle. That's it. Stop doing it. And just on and on, you're right. I think the issue here is that Arne Slot, which is tough to do in the Champions League and all that, got to find his best 11 and play it for a few weeks. Play it and play it and play it. And stop making so many wholesale changes. And in the end, the Man United game at the weekend, they probably could have won that 4-0, probably. They had enough chances, hit the post a few times, even at 2-1, that Gakpo header at the end. If he scores that for 2-2, I think they go on to win the game, right? So they've got a lot of attacking talent, but the team doesn't make any sense. And he's going to need to make some concessions to that. It might be a time to give Curtis Jones a run in midfield. It might be the time to pick a midfield pairing and just keep on playing it. Maybe pick a shape. Maybe drop Salah, who's offered almost nothing in the league and Champions League so far this season. Those issues need to be solved because the way they're losing games as well, they're losing them in the margins, right? This is the thing with the Premier League. We talk Premier League a lot. Most games are won and lost in the margins. It's going to get more and more like that as the season goes on with the promoted teams being good. Liverpool seem to have got a plan to blow teams out of the water. That's great. Score 3 goals. If you don't, they could be in trouble because they're going to concede at least one every single week playing in this way. So I think it's going to be a fun game, this, in terms of the amount of goals being scored. I actually think, it's going to sound weird, but I actually think Liverpool could win significantly here. And I think that because A, Frankfurt's diabolical defensive record, but B, someone's going to get it, right? Someone's going to get it off Liverpool. United could have got it off Liverpool, and they kept missing chances. I think when that starts happening, there'll be a nice little run of 3s, 4s, and 5s, a bit like what Bayern are doing. But someone has to get it first, and that requires picking your best team. Don't put 𝗀𝗍𝗀 and 𝘀𝗍𝗃 together. Pick one or the other. Find a new position for 𝗀𝗍𝗃 because 𝘀𝗍𝗃 is your striker. Of course, you play him in a game like this against his former team. So starting 𝗀𝗍𝗃 would be, I think, a mistake because he's looked rubbish since coming in. Maybe a good game for Florian Wirtz because he's gone back to Germany and he might be more comfortable and might feel a bit more natural because he's certainly been useless in the Premier League so far this season. Anyone who costs £100 million and offers nothing for 3 months, I'm sorry, we hammer them. If you're a £100 million player, you've got to be good. If you're not, and he has been rubbish, we can say so. He's got to up his game hugely if he wants to be a Liverpool player, or he joins that long list of like Lukaku types who just never did it every time you spent any money on him. So huge game this. I think Liverpool win it. I think both teams score because also Liverpool can't defend. So Liverpool and BTTS is 2.63. And then look at the over market. First over and Liverpool win that's worth any money is over 3.5 goals and Liverpool win. Everyone thinks goals here. I would then start getting a bit daring from there. I can easily see this being 2-5. So maybe look at the over 3.5 goals, even over 4.5 goals in the game market. That's when you're going to start making some money.
We even hammered 𝗀𝗃𝗃, Tom. We are not going to hammer Wirtz for his poor performances. Well, it's 18 goals conceded by Frankfurt, and even in the game against Galatasaray, it was kind of a Russian roulette game, Ronan. So I do expect goals, but you were saying no when Tom was confident about a Liverpool win here.
No, it wasn't that I was confident about a Liverpool win. I'm not confident in a big Liverpool win. I think Liverpool could win. I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool scored 6 goals in this match. But if they did, Frankfurt are scoring 4 goals. I think that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be a Liverpool -3 kind of match because Frankfurt, they just score goals. Every player they have scores goals. They're not kind of reliant on a 𝘀𝗍𝗃 maybe like they would have in the past or an Omar Marmoush before then, but they aren't reliant on one player to score goals. Can Ozone started the season brilliantly. We mentioned him before on the previous shows for the Champions League. I mentioned him a lot in the Bundesliga. He's kind of dried up a little now, but he's still a great attacking player. He's creating chances. He is maybe doing for Frankfurt what Florian Wirtz should be doing for Liverpool this season, and scoring goals, assisting goals, and being a general great all-round attacking midfielder. But like Tom said, maybe this is a chance for Florian Wirtz actually to step up, and it could be could he be a good bet for a goal or assist? Because I imagine every match that goes on, the bookies' odds must get bigger and bigger for Florian Wirtz to provide a goal or assist. So this could be one for it to happen. But Frankfurt, they just play entertaining matches. They can see loads of goals. They score loads of goals. There's only been one match this season that they've played in that there hasn't been 4 or more total match goals in. And that was the 3-0 defeat to Bayern Munich. And like we said, Bayern Munich just steamroll everyone. So they didn't really have the chance. Liverpool are unable to do that at the moment because, like Tom said, they're probably not starting their best 11. They're not starting their best striker because 𝘀𝗍𝗃 was on the bench. What's that about? Like Isaac? No. Another player would cost over 100 million. He needs to be slammed too because he's playing terribly. And he went on strike to force the move to make it even worse. Yeah, so what are you doing, Liverpool? What are you doing? I'm just hoping for goals in this match. I think there will be. Total goals over 3.5 is 2.02. I think that's pretty nice for this one because I think there will be 4 goals or more in this one. But Frankfurt, like I said, they have various players who can score, but they have one man who is scoring slightly more than other players at the moment, and he is 𝘀𝗵𝗵𝘄's replacement, Jonathan Burkhardt. He has 7 and 9 goals in all competitions this season. He scored twice against Freiburg at the weekend, and him as an anytime goal scorer in a match that everybody is certain that there is goals in, and Frankfurt at home, is 340. So I can't turn that down.
All right. Well, the over 3.5 goals looks very good indeed. And DCB is also adding Liverpool to win. So the bet is 3.6, Liverpool to win and both teams to score. For Abraham, Pathfinder screams draw to all. But if we check the Oddspedia AI, by the way, smart bet is giving us a completely different tip for this game. Total corners, okay. But then the double chance for Frankfurt, 2.45. Confidence rating is 4 out of 5. And then under 3.5 goals. So perhaps the AI knows something that we don't, guys. There you go. Total goals under 3.5 goals.
All right.
It's surprising. But perhaps...
Well, AI is coming for all our jobs. So
that's true.
Who knows?
And this is why they're not going to get them, because they're useless. Stay with us.
Next one, Real Madrid, Juventus. This is a great game. We've seen a couple of Champions League finals between these two teams, and Juventus arrived at a bad level, actually, to Madrid at the Bernabeu, first defeat of the season in Como, but we saw that coming because they were going down and down in their performances after starting the season pretty well, especially because they were really entertaining, scoring plenty of goals, conceding a lot of goals. Now they just concede, they are not scoring. And in the Champions League, they drew with Dortmund. Remember that epic end at home, and they dropped points against Villarreal. Real Madrid was not also very convincing on Sunday, beating Getafe with Mbappé again scoring, but Rodrigo looks very poor. Mastantuono not clicking. Also, there are a lot of problems in the midfield, and Barcelona is awaiting on Sunday. Anyway, Ronan, Real Madrid playing at home, Juventus not clicking, so we understand, I guess, these odds for Real Madrid to win could be a kind of nice, safe bet, actually.
Yeah, the way Madrid are playing at the moment and the way Juventus are playing at the moment is kind of very at odds, but I suppose people who have been waiting for amazing matches, apart from all the amazing matches that Tom explained earlier, this looks like the peak of the European Cup, maybe decades past. This is a 1990s sort of a game in the Champions League. But
yeah,
Juventus,
we saw this final only 6 years ago, I think.
With Juventus playing the way they are at the moment, it does not feel like the Juventus of old. Unfortunately, they haven't won in 6 games. They can't buy a win at the moment. So even before that defeat to Como, they just draw after draw after draw. So it's just this Juventus team is doing nothing for me at the moment. Whereas Madrid, since the derby defeat against Atleti, they have been unbeaten. They look kind of a much sharper team, a much more confident team. Maybe it was the wake-up call they needed early in the season because, like you have said, in previous years, they do that Real Madrid, they only kind of really start going in the second half of the season. So maybe this could be the second half of the season for them after that. Defeat and they've turned things around. But with the way Mbappe is playing at the moment, he kind of makes them look unstoppable. So Kylian Mbappe to score anytime, 178. They are calling him the French Troy Parrott for a reason at the moment, I hear. And then to tie into that, I like Madrid just to win this one and by what more than 1 goal. So Real Madrid -1 is 186. I like that.
Mbappé to score, nearly a safe bet indeed. Back a brace here. Madrid to score a penalty. Also, I fear because last season Milan went to the Bernabeu in a similar fashion and they won actually. But yeah, Tom, what do you think? Still, I'm not convinced about Real Madrid this season.
No, you wouldn't, because you're a fan. But when they've got the French Nicolas Füllkrug up front, they're all saying it. They can always score goals. I mean, look, I think Real Madrid have got some significant issues in terms of settling into what Xabi Alonso wants. There are some players that are clearly thriving, Kylian Mbappe. There are others that need to find a pathway into this team. Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo. Rodrigo, I think, has wanted to get out of the club for quite some time. I think that's evident when you see him play, that he's sort of going through the motions. But with some of the injuries they currently have, he's probably going to need to play fairly consistently with players kind of shunted around in different positions, as we've kind of seen in recent weeks. But when you've got Mbappe, you've got every chance of winning every game of football you play. And he is absolutely sensational. Only Harry Kane, for me, has impressed more in European football at the start of this season. He is thriving under this manager. He is putting effort in under this manager. He is leading this team under this manager. And I think he is covering for the deficiencies that they're going to need to fix in a few transfer windows. Like, I think it's as basic as that for Real Madrid. There are a couple of positions that need filling. Both fullback roles, with the injuries they've got, are going to lead to, I guess, Valverde's still going to be fullback here, where he's had to fill in for years and years and years. Alexander-Arnold so far has been a failure of a signing because he came in, didn't play well and got injured. That's not great. And you don't have long to cement your position at Real Madrid, right? It's a very demanding fan base. And if after 3 months you ain't really done much and got injured, I can't really see a pathway back for Alexander-Arnold in this team. We'll see how it plays out. He could do a bit of a frimpong for Xabi Alonso, but that would require a formation change. Is he going to do that? It's really, really interesting. But they're a lot stronger than, I think, this current Juventus team, who lost at the weekend to Como. It was 4 draws before that. And what's interesting about them is that I was chatting to a friend of mine who covers Italy a few days ago, and I was asking, like, 𝘀𝗵cie, how's he getting on, all that sort of stuff. And he said he can't teach a team to attack. And, like, I just suffered through 9 months with the new Sweden manager, Graham Potter, who literally could not teach a team to attack or, like, defend corners too. At least that they look quite defensively solid, Juventus. But if you have a group of Jonathan David, Conceição, Yildiz, Vlahovic, 1 or 2 others in there, João Mario, people who can attack, Filip Kostic, who's a great cross with the ball still, he can't put it together. I don't know what the Juve attack is. I don't know how they go about scoring goals. I'm not convinced on Jonathan David. I'm not sure 𝘀𝗵cie is convinced on Jonathan David playing in this team. So there's all sorts of questions to answer there, which so far have been answered in the negative. They don't start winning games soon. I don't think 𝘀𝗵cie makes it to January. We'll see how it plays out. But so far, the loss to Como could be quite damaging for him. And in this game, I think they'll be solid. I think they'll be unspectacular. I don't totally discount a breakaway goal for David, but really, I'm struggling to see a Juventus goal. So Real Madrid win, take that at top. Real Madrid win to 0 was 2.75. I think they might score a couple and shut it down. They've shown that ability to do that this season, which is very un-Real Madrid than as ever. Look at the Mbappe market. If you're really brave, go first goal and Real Madrid to win. That's a really healthy 4.07. If Mbappe is your anytime goal scorer and they win, it's down to 2.12. But Mbappe and Real Madrid, one of the safest bets in Europe right now.
I'm going to the game, so I hope you are right. And we see goals from Mbappe. And we forgot to mention, or we didn't mention, Arda Güler, Mbappe's partner. He's been great. He came into the pitch also in the second half against Getafe, and he is delivering assists. So it's a good Turkish clash between Yildiz and Arda Güler. Abraham, Real Madrid to score both halves. 2 teams with Champions League experience, so approach it with caution. Settle for 20 minutes draw, under 2.5 goals. Also, Joseph, so some people think we might see an under, although Juventus struggling to defend. And then we have an interesting game also with the odds, Sporting Olympique Marseille, and we see really high odds for Olympique Marseille, one of the best teams in Europe, I would say, right now. Perhaps I'm going too far, but they are entertaining. They are getting good results. They destroyed Le Havre at the weekend, 6-2, but even in the Champions League, apart from that 4-0 against Ajax, they were superb in the first half. Ajax was rubbish, but at the Bernabeu, they played really good. They beat PSG this season, Tom, so perhaps it's a good chance that they get a good result in Portugal.
I'm really surprised by these odds, actually. And maybe there's a historic context to Sporting at home that I'm missing. But this is a Marseille team who can currently score goals against anybody. You mentioned the 6 against Le Havre, but there's 3 against Metz. There's 4 against Ajax. There's a couple against Strasbourg. They won against Paris Saint-Germain. Hate to say it because he's such a horrendous person, but Mason Greenwood has been fantastic for Marseille. Obviously, there's a great relationship between player, club, and manager right now. And this is form of his life stuff from Mason Greenwood. Looks really, really good. Getting a tune at times from the veteran 𝘀𝗵𝗄𝗀, getting a good balance from kind of the supporting staff. Midfield looks solid, like O'Reilly in that central midfield alongside 𝘀𝗵cie. When I saw him recently, I think that's a really good, if you've got attacking players that don't want to do much that way, that's a really good pairing to have in central midfield because it allows the 4 or 5 other players to stay forward. And when you've got Pavard one side, I've always liked Emerson on the other side, just left West Ham to go to Marseille. Very good offensive fullback. It's great. It's a really good team. It's a classic 4-2-3-1. It works really well. Manager is really clever. Fans are behind him. And when Marseille get going, they could steamroll through to the top 8 in the Champions League this year. And from that point, do I think they'll win it? Probably not. But do I think they could easily pick up a massive scalp and get to the quarters, maybe the semis? Yeah, possibly. From what I've seen so far, I've been really, really impressed. In terms of Sporting, I think that their recent form is a bit middling. I think they're still looking for an identity in the year since Amorim has left. They're 2 managers down from that point. And so I'm just drawn in by the odds here. Can't believe them, frankly. I think if you're taking a punt on a game this weekend, or this midweek even, this match round, 3.29 for a Marseille win is absolutely worth a fiver of your money. And you add that to a player in form, Mason Greenwood, anytime for him. He's just under 2-1 as an anytime goal scorer. Take him first, and you're really being brave, but that could come in. Marseille win, Greenwood scores. There's lovely money to be made here.
Indeed, and talking about history, actually 𝘀𝗵 won in this stadium in 2022, so they are able to win in the UCL Matchday, Ronan.
Yeah, the Sporting team, they haven't kind of been the most impressive team this season, and like Thomas said, I think they're trying to figure out how best to play maybe since Amorim, so they're still a team in transition, even though it's so far removed from that. They are always tend to be a team in transition, I suppose, because they tend to sell a lot of their best players. But yeah, Marseille have just built fantastically at the moment, and they seem to be playing brilliant football, and it is kind of impossible to look past that 3.29 for Marseille at the moment. The only kind of other value maybe I had a look for in this one is Sporting. They've scored in each of their last 11 games. So both teams to score, yes, could be an option here at 157. And Marseille, since they've lost to Real Madrid, they've won every match. They've won 5 games since that defeat on Real Madrid. So I think they will win. So the Marseille win at 3.29 looks really good. I can't look past that one. But got to go even further. Marseille to win and both teams to score, yes, is 5.
Wow. Well, again, the robots are telling us that we are wrong. Let's check out the AI. There you go. First half result, Sporting to win 2.7. Perhaps Sporting win the first half and then 𝘀𝗵 come back. And...
Don't defend the robots, Edu. They're wrong and we're right, okay? You've seen the Terminator. You know how this goes. Pick a team.
No.
Okay.
Edu knows that the robots could come back in the future and they'll look back at this video and see, and they'll be like, he's a nice guy, we'll save him, but that Tom Rennie, he's first on the chopping block.
I always say please and thank you to the AI, just in case. Just in case. Marcel to win, Junior, Abraham, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. Marcel to score first, I'm going for it. Pathfinder, both teams to score and draw. Well, this is it on Wednesday, Champions League match day 3. Remember, before we go, that you can post your tips in Oddspedia and defy the robots and participate in our tipster competitions. You can win some money. There you go. We have a Premier League one, or in Rivals, you can create your own one. Perhaps a Champions League one. I'm sure there is... someone who already created a Champions League competition. So let's go with your safe bets. A lot of good bets, by the way, this weekend. Tom, your ACCA was correct, and also Ronan, yours. So both ACCAs were correct. Let's try again. Tom, your safe bet?
Yeah, there's a few that I could have taken this week, but I'm going for Bayern because they're just so unbelievably strong. Bayern at home will beat Club Brugge or Bruges. That's my safe bet.
Ronan?
I have gone for Bayern Munich to win, 125.
Okay. By the way, the international ACCA was also correct. So good job. Guys, ACCA, Tom?
Yeah, 4 teams for me. Obviously, Bayern are in there, putting him every ACCA I do at the moment because it keeps coming off. Real Madrid to win against Juventus for reasons we've spoken about. Chelsea were a potential safe bet for me. They're going to beat Ajax. And I am throwing Liverpool in only because I think it'll be fun, but they will outscore Frankfurt together. It comes in at 3.31, which is a bit stingy, actually, but I like it.
Mm-hmm. And Ronan, your ACCA?
I've gone for a double Bayern Munich -2 and Real Madrid -1 for a total of 361.
All right, simple one. Great show, great tips, guys. That's why we don't need the AI, because we have Tom and Ronan telling us what to bet on this week. So see you this week with the Bundesliga or with the Premier League. Bye-bye. Thank you.